Hey guys, I'm k3soju and I'm going to be doing a 10.19 comp tier list or meta snapshot. For those of you guys who don't know me, I've been rank 1, set 1, set 2, set 3, set 4, and if I'm not rank 1, I'm always top 5. Hopefully this has some weight and I'm going to just get started. The two S comps are going to be Dusk Riven and Brawler Ashe. I think if you're a newer player and you're starting to get into the game, assuming that it's not super contested, I would probably just play Brawler Ashe. I think Dusk Riven takes a lot more game knowledge and general board strength, eco management, etc. But either way, those are going to be the two S comps. The A comps are going to be Enlightened Talon, Ahri, Flex, and Spirit with Zed, Kindred, or Aphelios carry. The A minus comp is going to be Sharpshooters, and these are the 5 comps, or the 6 comps that I'm going to be covering in the video. These are all like comps that you can play, but they're just less consistent, and you can only go them when you get the early chosen unit with the items to accompany them. So I'm not going to cover them, but just keep in mind there's a lot of honorable mentions. But anyway, without further ado, let's start with, so this is going to be Brawler Ashe. The most important item is going to be GS and QSS on Ashe. I think that Trap Claw is a somewhat okay replacement for QSS, but QSS is definitely better. You put her in the corner and surround her with brawlers, so infiltrators, shades not infiltrators, assassins and shades don't jump on Ashe, and you have set. The carry of the comp is actually set. If you go 8 and you don't find set, you're probably just playing for top 4, but if you find set, you can actually win the game. Warwick can take your leftover items, Nunu can take the early game tank items. Even Tahm Kench can take early game tank items, but just keep in mind that you don't actually need the Brawler chosen. You can go like Hunter Kindred chosen and run 6 Brawler, 4 Hunter. You can even go like 4 Brawler, 5 Hunter, Divine. Like you just flex your strongest board, and the chosen unit is pretty flexible. For example, like chosen Aphelios Hunter, I probably wouldn't play that in the late game, but I'm fine with chosen Hunter Kindred. If I have like Elderwood Ashe, I'm down to splash 6 Elderwood with 4 or 6 Brawler, stuff like that. But the general game plan is early game you pick up the Brawlers around Tahm Kench and Maokai, and you have, let's say, like a GS plus a Glover or Negatron, so you have 3 out of the 4 perfect item Ashe. The last item Ginsu can be really flex. It can be like BT, Deathblade, another GS, Last Whisper, IE, stuff like that. But generally you're going to start with a Brawler frontline, 4-1, roll for a stable board, which is generally going to be 6 Brawler plus Ashe, and then you 8 and roll for set and play accordingly. Just keep in mind the chosens are flexible among every comp that I'm going to mention. So that's going to be Brawler Ashe. Next, I'll do the second and only S tier comp, which is going to be Dusk Riven. This comp, as you can see, it has a lot of higher cost units, and it's super flex. For example, you don't have to run 6 Dusk. You can go 4 Dusk, 2 Dusk. The general unit that you need is going to be Riven, because that's going to be your solo frontline. But generally, I think that 4 Dusk is something worth going for. If you have Dustbat, Dustin is fine, Dusk Set is fine. But late game, it's going to be a race on who can get Kane and Set going. So if I were to go 9 with this board's a level 8 board. If I can go 9, or a lot of times you're actually going to roll on 9, you can just put in a standalone Kane, a standalone Set. If I don't have like Jin items, I can even sell Jin with a Dustbat. Or like if I have chosen Dusk, I don't have to run Vayne Jin, and I can just run like Kane, Set, Yone, Azir, all those units. It's basically the game plan for this is your opener is going to be a cultist opener. So you have Elise, TF, Pike plus a keeper, which is Jarvan or Kennen, and then you just play around that until 4-1, and then at 4-1 you can evaluate your board strength and HP on whether you need to roll a little bit on 7, but generally you want to roll on 4-5 or 5-1 on 8 because you're rolling for all of the higher cost units. Riven items are super flex. You could go, let me actually pull it up. I made a guide earlier today. So Riven items would be Bramble, QSS, Hodge, Sunfire, Declaw, Spark, GA, Blue, Morello, Titans. As you can see, you can literally use any item. Any item you think is good on Riven is probably going to be good on Riven. I wouldn't recommend Warmogs on Riven because it puts her over the Giant Slayer cap. But generally, I think if the more Dusk you have, the more defensive you can go. For example, you can go Bramble, Declaw, Spark, which is probably one of the best in slots. But I really have been liking GA Blue Buff Spark. I think GA Blue Buff Spark with 6 Dusk, your Riven is essentially unkillable. But anyway, any of those items work. But you basically just play around Riven. So it's going to be Riven, Cassiopeia for Dusk, and then one of the Mystics. And it's usually Zillion, but because it's the best Mystic. But you can even flex Shen mid-game. You don't have to run Lily of Vayne. You don't have to run 6 Dusk. If you have chosen Mystic, you can go 4 Mystic. If you have chosen Sharpshooter, you can go 4 Sharpshooter. Chosen Vanguard, you can go 4 Vanguard. You can drop Cultist altogether. But generally, you're going to be win streaking mid-game, early game with Cultist, and then you're just transitioning your entire comp at 5-1. That's Dusk Riven. I think if you want to have fun learning the game, I definitely think this is the comp to go. Next is going to do, I'll do Enlightened Talon. There's several things with this comp. Okay, so Talon, you can use IE, GS, BT, Hodge, Deathblade, GA, QSS. You just choose 3. You just choose 3, but I think these are the best 3 possible. And then the thing is with the Chosen, you don't need Enlightened Chosen. You can go Sin Chosen for 4 Sin, 4 Enlightened. You can go Enlightened for 6 Enlightened, obviously. You can even go like Mystic for 4 Mystic with 4 Enlightened. You can pivot out a Pike depending on like if you're carrying Morgana, carrying Talon. But generally you want 2 items, Morgana, which is a mana item, Morello, and IEGS, like just 3 items on Talon. But this is general positioning. What happens is their team goes around Shen, and then Lux gets like an insane ult. You can play this comp around a Vanguard frontline opener, and then you have items like a Morello and items like 80 items for Talon. Janna Enlightened is really good. You can even do Sin Pike for 4 Sin. Generally, Lux is never going to be chosen. Enlightened Aurelia is fine. I generally don't like 4 Mystic Shen because I think you definitely lack DPS. You start falling off. This is more of a top 4 comp. That's why I put it A tier. The reason you don't win is because you can cap comps with Kayn and Set, and it's hard for this comp to run Kayn and Set. Obviously, you can run it at 9, but a lot of times you're rolling on 7 for this board because like when are you ever streaking mid game with like Lux, Aurelia, Shen, Fiora, like Janna, like all these units? So you have to roll on 7 most of the time. And when you're rolling on 7 and you're rolling a lot, you have to roll more gold to get these units. So the chances of you going 9 is pretty slim. A lot of times your win con is actually going to be Talon 3 and Morgana 3. Shojin synergizes really well with Enlightened. So that's Enlightened Talon. Next is going to be Ahri. LHS actually didn't let me put 2 Jeweled Gauntlets. But best in slot is going to be Jeweled Gauntlet, blue buff, or GA. So it's double offensive plus blue buff or GA. Just keep in mind that you can flex Vanguards. You don't have to run 4 Vanguard. You can even go 4 Spirit if you find Spirit Ahri. I wouldn't recommend Spirit Mage Ahri. If I find Mage Ahri, like obviously I pick it up for an instant Ahri too, but I probably wouldn't even try to play around it. Let's say I have a Dusk Spat instead of one of the Jeweled Gauntlets. I'm willing to run like Riven, drop 2 Vanguards, run Riven, and like Lilia or something, and basically just play flex around what you're given and what chosen you're given. But this is generally the board that you can go. One early game key unit you can hit is Vanguard Thresh, and then you have the items for Ahri, and then you can just commit. The game plan is kind of the same. You play your strongest board until 4-1. If you have the items for Ahri, you just roll on 4-1 for these units and itemize them this way. And that's how you play the comp. Keep in mind that you basically need to go 8 and run Set Kayn. And your late game cap, you can actually sell Ahri. If they have like counters to Ahri and you don't have like Ahri can't burst through a Riven, let's say, you can actually sell Ahri and move items to Set. So that's gonna be your win con. You either can win con with like Ahri 3, but that's rare because it's actually really contested. Yeah, this is a comp you can flex. You can flex 4 Mystic. You don't have to run 4 Mystic. You don't have to run 4 Vanguard. But generally, you're just playing around Ahri, Yuumi, Cassiopeia, and Thresh. And next is Spirit, Zed, Kindred, Aphelios. It's actually not being played on NA that much, but I think this comp has a lot of potential. A lot of people in Korea are playing it. You can play Zed carry, which I think is the best one. You can even go Kindred carry, where you roll on 7 and 8 for Kindred 3. And you just don't run Zed, obviously. You don't run the Shades. And you can even go for Aphelios, reroll with Kindred Aphelios, and you go for Aphelios 3. Best in slot, Aphelios is going to be GA Ginsu plus 1. It could be GA or QSS plus Ginsu plus like an AD item. Best in slot Z is going to be RSC. You just choose 3 out of the 5. It can be like RSC, QSS, BT, Ginsu, Runans, GA. You just choose something. And then the GA on Ahri is really important for this comp because you just frontline Ahri, and then she gets the Spirit from her ult as soon as possible. She'll always cast. So that's why Ahri frontline is valuable with GA. It's probably the most important thing of the comp. There's also Kindred reroll with the best in slot is going to be blue buff Gunblade plus 1. With Kindred, you can flex Dusk as well. You actually lose so much. You can go Chosen Shade. You can go Chosen Spirit. Just generally, you only go this comp when you have the items for it though. Play strongest board. Slow roll on 6 and 7 for Z3, Aphelios 3, or 7 and 8 for Kindred 3. And then as you hit your 3 stars, you can actually go 8 and start rolling for the upgrades. Obviously, Zillion, you're not going to hit on 6, but you can find Zillion when you're rolling on 8 for Kayn. But in the meantime, you can just run like a Janna, Shen, doesn't matter. You can even reroll Janna if you'd like, if you're hitting a lot of Jannas. And then the last comp is going to be Sharpshooters. I think the reason this comp is so low is because the comp gets stronger and stronger as you find a higher and higher cost Sharpshooter. So for example, if I find Sharpshooter Nidalee or Sharpshooter Vayne, you could probably hard force 6 Sharpshooter because the trait is really strong. But it's definitely weaker than finding like Teemo and then finding Jinx or Jhin. I think Jinx is actually the best one. It's Ginsu, Shojin, QSS, and again, the front line is Flex. You can run Thresh Sejuani. Generally, I think this is probably the strongest early because, or the most common one because you just play it around the Thresh Vanguard frontline or mid game. But you could also play Riven if you actually randomly hit a Riven. You can go like Riven Keeper frontline with Dusk. You can go Cassio plus Shen, and then not run Yuumi. You can run Spirit. You can flex. You can flex everything. You can flex if you go like Spirit, you can go 4 Sharpshooter, but generally you always want 6 Sharpshooter. And then you can flex the Vanguard, you can flex the Mystic, you can flex the Spirit, you can flex Dusk, stuff like that. But generally this is your positioning. Again, you just corner and protect your carry, and Jinx will just wipe the board. So that should be the comps for 10.19. As I said from the beginning, there's like reroll Wukong, reroll Diana. Wukong is like RC, GS, Hodge, or GA, or BT, or Deathblade, or IE. There's going to be Diana with Gunblade plus Titans. There's going to be reroll Mage with TF and Annie. But those are really inconsistent, and I think these are the 5 comps or the 6 comps that you're gonna look for every single game you play. And that concludes my tier list. Take it easy, guys. Peace.